Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, Paul here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck profile. This is actually following hot on the heels of the Red Eyes and Dark Magician profiles that we did a couple of days ago. Be sure to check those out. I'm kind of just going on this like legacy deck binge, so I want you guys to see all those deck profiles, and maybe I'll make some more, maybe I'll make some duels. Let me know if you guys want to see all that by giving this video a thumbs up and tell me in the comments. So anyway, this is Blue Eyes White Dragon updated for, summer 2018. I think that's going to be really cool. Before we start, I do have some shout outs. Two really good friends helped me build this deck. They lent me some cards for it. My friend Eric, he knows who he is if he's watching this, and my friend Larry, who also lent me cards for the Exodia deck, and I forgot to shout him out in that video, but yeah, definitely check that video out as well. He lent me some of his cards, so they're both really cool guys, and I really appreciate it. They were the reason that you get to see this today. Also, I want to let you guys know that this video is brought to you by the dazzling, the dabbing Seto Kaiba Field Center. Not made by Konami, actually made by my friend Tombox over at mst.tv. If you want to get one of these for yourself, maybe you should check out his channel. He might be able to tell you how. So we'll just leave him right over here in the corner. And now let's hop into the video. So, Blue Eyes, right? Everybody thinks like, oh, this is just one of those legacy decks that's dead. And maybe some people agree, but I think that actually this deck is okay. Like I've seen it, top regionals. We've seen it get like top 64 and stuff at like YCS events, national level tournaments. So no, I still think this deck is actually pretty viable, pretty strong. You have to make a good build, and this is just a pretty bog standard build. It's not Chaos Max, it's not Invoked. I might do those if you guys want to see them, but this is just your normal Blue Eyes deck, and it's kind of geared towards beginners, but I do have some kind of tournament level techs in here too. Alright, enough blabbering. So, triple Blue Eyes, right? Here's Blue Eyes. This is actually my favorite art of Blue Eyes. I don't like too many of the other ones, so yeah, you run through him because you're going to be sending him to the grave, you're going to be using him in your hand as discard, you're going to be revealing him. It's important that you have three, and we've also got three Blue Eyes alternative White Dragon, who is very expensive right now for no good reason, although it's getting reprinted sort of again in that movie pack in like September or October, so maybe it'll be a little bit easier to get. Even though it's expensive, you need to run 3 copies of this because this is actually this deck's like main beat stick, special summoning, removal card. You can reveal a Blue Eyes in your hand to summon it from your hand, so that means you kind of need to have both of them. And once per turn, it can destroy a monster in the field, but it won't be able to attack that turn. Thankfully, you can just special summon it, use that effect to get rid of a monster, and then synchro summon it away, because it's still just a like level 8 monster that you can use for synchro material and all of that. And also, its name is Blue Eyes White Dragon, so, that's pretty cool. It actually becomes pretty useful. It's like that in the field and in the graveyard, so that can help with a few different types of summons. And then Dragon Spirit of White, whose name is always treated as just a Blue Eyes card, but while it's in your hand or in the GUI, it's considered a normal monster. I don't know why they didn't make it a Gemini like they did with the Red Eyes monster, but whatever. And then when it gets special summoned, you can actually banish a spell or trap your opponent has. And the banish is pretty important because, we're in a game where there's a lot of like continuous stuff and stuff that gets face up and field spells and things where like if it's in the grave, they can banish themselves. So being able to banish those cards is really valuable. And also if your opponent has a monster, you can attribute him and then special summon a Blue Eyes from your hand. And that's pretty cool because he only has 2,500 attack, whereas the Blue Eyes would have 3,000 attack. So he can like swing over an important monster and then like run away and get a Blue Eyes out to swing over another important monster. So yeah, it's pretty useful. And all of these aforementioned cards are level 8, so they're going to be trade-in fodder and stuff like that. You'll be summoning them a lot. Next, we've got Triple Sage with Eyes of Blue. This is the deck's quintessential Stratos Searcher type monster. When you normal summon it, you get to add a level 1 Light Tuner from your deck to your hand, except of course another copy of it. So if you happen to be running some of the Eyes of Blue monsters, like say Maiden, you can search them with this card. You can also search your White Stone cards, both of them, and you can even search Effect Failure with this, so it's very useful. Also, you can discard it from your hand and then target an effect monster in your field, send it to the grave, and summon a Blue Eyes from your deck. So using this, you can actually turn pretty much anything on your field into a Blue Eyes monster. It is a neg 1 though, so just kind of something to keep in mind. And also it's a tuner, of course, so you can make synchro plays, and you'll usually want to because it doesn't actually have great stats. Next, we've got Triple White Stone of Ancients. So this is the new White Stone that Blue Eyes got. I say new, but it's been out for like a couple years now. During the end phase, if it got sent to the graveyard that turn, you can actually summon a Blue Eyes from your deck, which is huge because if you send this with, say, like a regular Blue Eyes or a, where is he? Dragon Spirit of White with like Dragon Shrine, then you could send like this, and then like in the end phase, use this thing's effect and like special summon, another Blue Eyes from your deck, and that's really cool. And of course, if you summon like Dragon Spirit, then you'll get to banish a card. It's a really fun thing. Also, you can banish it from your graveyard and then target a Blue Eyes monster in your GY and add it back to your hand. That's usually most useful for getting back something like Alternative Dragon, but technically you can get any of them back. And that can be used to either summon Alternative again or use as trade-in food or just whatever, really. So it's very useful. And then we also have one single White Stone of Legend. Anytime it goes to the grave, no matter how it went, you get to search a Blue Eyes from your deck to your hand. It's actually a mandatory effect, so you have to do it if you've got a Blue Eyes. And like this guy, it's a tuner. All of these can be searched with Sage with Eyes of Blue, and they can all be used just to like sync with. And it's good because you'll float because they all have like cool graveyard effects, so very handy. And then we've got some non-Blue Eyes cards. One Effect Veiler, because you can search it with Sage, I figured it's not really worth running like multiple copies of it, so very handy. Searching it with Sage does allow you some field control. It is a level 1 light tuner, so blah blah. Glow Up Bulb, this is a really useful tuner in this deck. It actually allows you to make your Spirit much easier, Spirit Dragon, and then also make Cloud Castle and turn them into VFD, so I'll get into that a bit later. But yeah, it's a very handy card. I don't know why I call it a he, it's like it's a seed. And then some hand traps. We've got Ash Blossom and Droll and Lockbird. So I know everybody loves to hate these cards, like running them and stuff. They're expensive, I get it. If you don't want to run the hand traps, it's totally understandable. There are a lot of cool tech cards you can run in their place. You could run extra copies of Effect Veiler, you could run Ghost Ogre, anything that you have your hands on. I say these because if you want Blue Eyes to be a competitive deck, and I know a lot of people ask about this, then these are kind of the cards you need to have. Ash Blossom is just so critical against a lot of deck startup cards, and this in particular is really, really valuable against Gokis and Trickstars and those types of decks. So that's why I'm running them. If you don't have them or if you don't want to run them, feel free to exclude them and run anything else. But that's just the text that I went with here. And that's all for the monsters. So yeah, like I said, no Chaos Max, nothing too crazy or weird. There are other monsters you could take in, but I won't get into those in this build. So on to the spells. Melody of Awakening Dragon. This is the quintessential Blue Eye Searcher. You discard a card and add 2 dragon monsters with 3,000 or more attack, or 2,500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. So it's your way to search Blue Eyes White Dragon and Alternative Dragon. And you need to be summoning Alternative Dragon as quickly as possible, so that's why this card is very helpful, and that's why we run 3. And the card you discard could be anything, but ideally it'll maybe be a stone, which can float later, and you get the idea. Then we have Triple Trade-In, so you got lots of level 8 monsters, many of which are actually searchable. So Trade-In becomes extremely live in this deck. You just discard a Blue Eyes, draw 2 cards, and you can easily recover your Blue Eyes back to your hand or special summon them back to the field, so it's never a bad thing. It gives this deck a lot of draw power. Also have 2 Pot of Desires, so Pot of Desires is just more draw power for the deck. I know some people don't really care too much for this card, so I would say that if you don't want to run Pot of Desires, you could also run, say, Upstart Goblin, or a card that I was using before, Cards of Consonance, because you do have your stones, although you only have 4 of them, and so Cards of Consonance, you'd maybe want to run like 2 copies of it and hope to see your stones easily. I mean, Sage can search them, but I went with this because I feel like this deck doesn't really mind losing cards to the banish. It's not a huge deal, and the extra draw power is really important when you just need to see a handful of startup cards. So, change this up at your leisure. Then we have the cards to send our Blue Eyes to the grave. We've got Double Dragon Shrine and Foolish Burial. Dragon Shrine can actually send a regular Blue Eyes, which is a vanilla, which allows you to send another dragon monster. And keep in mind that Dragon Spirit of White is also vanilla in the grave, so it will trigger that as well. So you could send a Blue Eyes, maybe, either one of those, and then maybe a stone to get in their search, and that can recoup the advantage lost in this card. Foolish Burial is really good as well, because in addition to being able to send those cards, you can also send Glow Up Bulb and set up your plays like that. Then we've got 1 for 1. This is useful mainly for summoning tuners whenever you need them, especially Glow Up Bulb, and the discard's usually fine because you don't mind Blue Eyes monsters getting in the grave. Then we have our revival cards. Triple Return of the Dragon Lords, the quintessential, high-level dragon revival card, just extra monster reborns. Can protect your Blue Eyes whenever they would be destroyed, so that's extremely helpful as well. You're going to be sending loads in the grave, so, this card comes in handy a lot. Then Silver's Cry, it's almost like a 4th one. It's a quick play spell, so you can use it like randomly in the battle phase to like finish your opponent off by surprise, or even in your opponent's turn to defend yourself with a 3k beat stick. Pretty nice. Then we have Soul Charge and Monster Reborn, just more revival. Soul Charge in particular can make for some pretty nutty boards because Blue Eyes monsters are huge, and you can like synchro and do all that kind of stuff, so very cool. And that's it for the spells, and I'm running one single trap card tech, and that's Skill Drain. This is something that I've been playing around with it. I mean, it just makes sense. Blue Eyes monsters are vanillas, and most of these things don't actually have effects once they're on the field. So, you can use Skill Drain and really shut your opponent off. It's great against a lot of combo decks that utilize effects, all the extra link boards and everything. It's just going to kind of shut them down. And this deck doesn't have much need for other traps, so I think that if you're going to run a single trap, it needs to be a powerful one, and this definitely cuts it. You could do something like Evenly Matched, I guess, if you wanted, but I really enjoy this, so Skill Drain for now. And then we get on to the extra deck. We've got our Blue Eyes Spirit Dragons, the guy on the mat. He's really good. It's a level 9 synchro, and it just takes a tuner and a non-tuner Blue Eyes. Neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time. This is actually pretty relevant sometimes because it means that your opponent can't use, say, Goki Rematch, your opponent can't Pendulum Summon 2 monsters. Those type of effects all get shut down, not even Scapegoat, which is really cool protection. Also, you can negate a graveyard effect once per turn, and during either player's turn, you contribute this and summon a level 7 or 8 light dragon monster, synchro monster from your extra deck, but it gets destroyed in the end phase. So he comes in handy. He's loaded with a lot of different effects. Some of the cards you'll be summoning with him include Azure Eyes Silver Dragon, who actually can't be destroyed the turn it's summoned. So when it gets special summoned, any dragons you currently control can't be destroyed until the end of the next turn. And then also in your standby phase, you get to target a normal monster in your GY and bring it back. That can be a regular Blue Eyes, or that could be a Dragon Spirit of White, which could get you a spell or trap banished. So that's pretty cool. It gets around, of course, this guy's destruction effect. Start a Spark Dragon, which can also do the same thing. It can protect itself from getting destroyed in that end phase. And then after that, it just sits in the field, and it's a really good control card because sometimes your opponent wants to use these, destruction removal effects, and you can just use Start a Spark to save the most important card you've got. And because he's a level 8, you can actually synchro with him again, and that's how you'll be making Cloud Castle. Get into him in a second. Black Rose Moonlight, another card you can summon with your Spirit Dragon. When it gets summoned, you get to bounce a monster on the field, so very handy. And last but not least, for synchros, we have Cloud Castle. So the Cloud Castle combo basically goes, if you have something like Effect Veiler or Go Up Bulb, namely, you can actually use your Spirit Dragon and run away with it, make something like Start a Spark Dragon, and then use your Glow Up Bulb again with Cloud Castle to sync with Start a Spark Dragon to make Cloud Castle, use Cloud Castle, bring back Spirit Dragon, and overlay them for VFD or a True King of All Calamities, which is a really strong control card. It can basically negate all your opponent's monsters' effects, and that's really great. It's a good way to shut them down. Then we have some other Xyz. We've got Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon and the whole Galaxy suite. I decided to go lower on this. You can actually add in Galaxy Eyes Prime, Photon, Armor, Dragon, or whatever in the middle of this, and like link from this into that into this, and go onwards. But I like this a little bit better. It can destroy any card in the field just by detaching. And then you go into Dark Matter Dragon, which can deal a lot of damage to your opponent and banish cards from their deck. Then we have some more interesting rank 8 monsters. Number 68, Sinafin, the Sky Prison. This is actually really cool. It gets attack points for every monster in the GY, and of course, Blue Eyes will often have a lot of those, and your opponent's going to have some as well. So he might be 3k, he might even get to like 4k, and you can attach an Xyz material from him and then make him indestructible, and your opponent can't special summon monsters from the graveyards till the end of the next turn. You can't either though, so be careful about that. It's both players, but still this can be really useful against Gokis and a few other matchups, so maybe Burning Abyss. Very handy. We've got Hope Harbinger for negating spells. He's kind of a rank 8 staple. We've actually got Lancelot, one that I know a lot of people don't really care for him, but I just think he's fun. He can attack your opponent directly and then send a monster from their field to the grave or destroy it. So it's a good way to actually get rid of cards. It kind of reminds me of like, Altergeist, Muleseek, or whatever. And it can negate spells and traps and monster effects by detaching. So even though its stats are small, I think that it's really useful for that purpose. Got a Link monster, Underclock Taker. Considering how big your Blue Eyes are, using Underclock Taker with Blue Eyes means you can literally swing over anything and deal a lot of damage by surprise. And we've got Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon for the culture. You won't summon it very much, but it has a really good effect, so I figured I would include it, and it's Blue Eyes deck, so why not? Also, I would go ahead and say that as soon as Hip Hoshinogen, or, you know, Superstar, whatever it's being called in the TCG, comes out, the Light Link Monster and Cybernetic Horizon, I would actually just probably replace Underclock Taker with it. It just takes 2 light monsters and it has the light float effect like Mrs. Radiant, so it'll pretty much be your go-to Link monster, because this deck's not going to really be making a lot of Link monsters as it is, so if you're going to have one, it might as well be one that powers up your Blue Eyes. And that is going to be it for the deck profile. So hopefully you guys enjoyed and, you know, learned a little bit of something about Blue Eyes White Dragon. Like I said, I think that of all of the legacy decks like this and Red Eyes and Dark Magician and stuff, it's definitely the most competitive, so give it a shot. It's a little bit expensive, but most of the cards have been reprinted, so it's not too hard to get a hold of. Remember, check out the the Red Eyes and the Dark Magician deck profiles that we've done. We've worked really hard to make them, so yeah, shout out to the guys who helped me complete this deck. Leave your feedback on it down in the comments. Let me know if you want to see Invoked, Blue Eyes, or, you know, any other variant of it. And that's going to be it. So I will see you guys in the next one.